don't already own your own house, I'm assuming the majority of you, at one point in your life, plan to own your own house. And there are certain things you will find when you actually own that little house that you've always dreamed of that you won't find out about until you actually have it. And these are some of the things that I wish I had known prior to owning my own house that I just want to share with you. So this is how I envision it happening. You're a brand new baby doctor. You have all the money in the world, right? So you buy your brand new dream home. Oh, so beautiful. Crown molding, already furnished, right? Probably the only thing you can afford is something more like this, but you probably will settle more on something like this. Very simple, may need some work, but a starter house. And you will find that once you get into that brand new house of yours, there are certain things that you just find that are fundamentally flawed in your understanding of how houses work. You're just left wondering, how did I not learn these basic things on how a house works? And I've been in school for my entire life, and I just never learned it. So these are some of the things I wish I had known prior to owning my own house. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on currents and amps, but I just want to talk a little bit about electricity. So your city will send you electricity through your circuit box. Never know that, right? Your circuit box will then have these black wires, these black wires, and they will run to all the outlets and all the light switches of your houses. We call these the hot wires. They contain the electricity to supply that outlet. So if electricity comes in, electricity has to go out, right? And that's where the white wires come in. Those white wires are neutral wires, and that's where the electricity leaves and supplies the rest of your outlets. So if you ever pulled out your outlet, you would see these wires. And if you understood the basics, you could maybe change out that loose outlet, or maybe put in a new light fixture that you've been dying to put in. Also, another thing I wish I knew, your house in the United States of America puts out 120 volts. It's different in Europe. It's about double that, 220 volts. And that is the reason why we have different outlets. So you don't blow up your blow dryer when you go visit London. And that's kind of something I didn't realize until I actually owned my own house. Very quickly about plumbing. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you have a leaky faucet, probably 90% of the time, it's just a leaky pipe. And you just have to go up in there and reset that pipe and screw it on really tight. And if you're kind of weak in the upper area like me, use a wrench. But I didn't know this prior to owning a house. And I hired someone to do this my first time when it was just a leaky pipe. Walls. How did I get through school and not understand how walls are built? But it's kind of important when you have your own house and you're putting up things. So this is the framework of your walls. This is just the what's inside them. And you see these pipes running here. That's your plumbing and your electricity. And those run at the bottom of your walls. Because contractors are assuming you're not going to be hanging a picture down here. So they generally leave this area up here empty for that reason. But the general structure of a wall is that you have a thin piece of drywall, these beams, or we call them studs, and then another piece of drywall behind it. So if you go to hang up a picture, let's say it's 1 pound, you tap in that nail, it's in about this much of drywall. It's not going anywhere, it's only a pound. But once you put in maybe like a 50-pound mirror on the wall, that nail is not gonna hold. And I don't know if any of you learned the hard way, but, I don't know if any of you learned the hard way, but those nails will rip out of the wall because it's only in drywall about that thick. So what you need to do is put in these things called wall anchors. I've seen these things all the time. I never knew what they were for until I actually owned my house. So the purpose behind these things are to hold up your pictures, really anchor it to a little piece of drywall if you can't find a stud. So sometimes the stud's over here, but no, I want my mirror right here in the center. So that's where wall anchors come into play. And lastly, paint. Who knew there were so many types of paint? Not I. So to make it simple, we're going to put paint in the classification of matte or flat and semi-gloss and gloss. So based on the name, you can understand that gloss and semi-gloss have a little bit more sheen. This is not just for aesthetically pleasing your eyes, this is for a purpose. So matte or flat goes in all of the areas that aren't high traffic, so to speak. So those are your living rooms, your bedrooms, and the ceilings, things that don't get dirty. Semi-gloss and gloss are for trims, doors, and the kitchen, which I didn't know about, because these are areas that you get splattered, backsplash from cooking, or hands are touching them a lot. With gloss, you can really clean that off really easily. If you try to clean off a flat wall, like one of these walls, you're gonna take off paint. So just so you know, that's where those types of paints go. So I just gave you the basics, very basics that I wish I knew. But how do you learn more about these things so you don't hurt yourself? Well, there's great resources on the internet, as you guys know, but also any home improvement store, you can go take classes on how to do clinics. One of my favorites, volunteer for Habitat Humanity or other house building projects. A great way to learn how a house is built from the ground up. You'll learn a ton. The way I learned was by helping out my family member, my brother, who owns about 5 different houses, and he's renovated them all, and I learned a ton just helping him do that. But most importantly, you really need to know your limits, what you're okay and comfortable with doing, and know that it's okay to call a professional when you're in doubt or when you just can't hold up that light fixture and screw in that screw. That's what the professionals are for. But in the end, I think it's so fulfilling when you get into your new house and then you can fix it up yourself, knowing that you did it yourself and you didn't have to call a repairman to fix these very simple problems. So I encourage you, get your drills, get your screwdrivers and your stud finders, and do it yourself.